Please adhere to YouTube's selected guidelines before viewing the content of this video. I do not encourage or condone any products, actions, or behaviors shown in this video. All videos are produced in a safe, professional, and controlled environment. Please do not attempt to replicate any actions performed during the video. All actions are performed by professionals. Alright, so today I'm going to be smoking a Brazilian cigarette for the first time, which as a whole I am very excited to do, as I have heard a lot about Brazilian cigarettes, and since I am right now, as of this moment in time, currently in Brazil, well, there's no better chance to try a Brazilian cigarette for the very first time. As such, that's exactly what I'm doing today, and I'm looking forward to this experience much more so than not. How will my first ever experience with a Brazilian cigarette actually be? Will I enjoy it? Will I not? I don't know, but I am very excited to find out. What I have with me today is a pack of the Rothmans Reds cigarettes from Brazil. This pack right here was made by British American Tobacco Brazil, which is British American Tobacco's Brazilian subsidiary, and it was made in Brazil. I do want to clarify, this is a Brazilian made and market pack. And I do suppose, without further ado, I should probably go ahead and quickly cover the packaging, go over what little details on the packaging are different than what you might see elsewhere, and then after that, I'm thinking I should probably go ahead and get the cellophane all off, get the pack all opened up, go ahead and take a look at the cigarettes inside, see what they actually look like, what they feel like, and what the quality of them is like, and of course what they smell like as well. Then after that, I'm going to go ahead and get one of these Rothmans Red cigarettes right here, all lit up, and I'm going to go ahead and actually get to smoking a Brazilian cigarette for the very first time. And then, once I'm done smoking, once I've gotten my fill of nicotine, I'm going to give you guys my final thoughts on this pack right here, and I'm going to give you guys my, well, final thoughts on my initial experience with Brazilian cigarettes, and that'll be the video right there. But before any of that, I first off need to thank the sponsor of today's video, me. That's right, I am the sponsor of today's video, as my new poetry book, Poems to Read While Smoking Cigarettes, is out now, and I do highly recommend you pick it up. It's available for $14.99 on Amazon, and it is a fantastic read while smoking some cigarettes. The poems inside this book, they're not good poems, but they are poems to read while smoking cigarettes, and I do highly recommend you check my book out, and I do highly recommend you pick it out if you're interested, or you pick it up if you're interested, to say that correctly, I do suppose. But yeah, highly recommend my new book. Now, with the sponsored segment of this video out of the way, without further ado, let's go ahead and quickly cover the packaging of, well, the Rothmans Red cigarettes from Brazil. Let's go ahead and cover the packaging of my first ever pack of Brazilian cigarettes that I'll be smoking. And we can see we get, overall, more so than not, a pretty nice red background on the front right here, but in the bottom 25% or so, we do get a little bit of a warning label, and that is a theme that we see on multiple sides of the packaging. We can see we get a warning label on this side, along with on the back as well, not on the top, not on the bottom, and not on this side, but yes, we do get warning labels on many more sides than not of this pack of cigarettes, I do want to acknowledge, and that seems to be the standard with a lot of cigarettes you get in Brazil, but not all of them. I do want to clarify, I have definitely found a couple packs here so far that do not have the exact same format of warning labels on them for whatever reason. I'm not exactly sure what the meaning behind that is, but yes, I have found a couple packs that do not have the exact same formatting for cigarette warning labels and everything like that. Maybe there's different classifications of cigarettes, and maybe the different classifications don't need the same exact warning labels, or maybe it's down to the producer's choice. I have no clue, in all honesty, but this is what the warning labels on the front of this pack look like, and we can see that the pack itself is very much that of a hard pack, king size, a pack of cigarettes. It does have a round corner stylization to it, as we can see, and we can see the warning label down here starts off as a red, which works pretty well with this red background, and on that red it just says, and I don't speak any Portuguese, I do want to clarify, so I may mispronounce a lot of stuff, but it just says Perigo este producto causa dependencia, which I think just means warning, this product causes dependencies, is addictive, is basically what they're trying to say. And then it just says under that on a yellow label in black, parar de fumar e possível, which I think just means that this product can kill or something along those lines. I did translate this before the video, but I forgot exactly what it says, but I have a second phone in front of me with Google Translate loaded up. Do I actually have Google Translate downloaded on this phone? I hope so. Let's take a look if I do. I do have Google Translate. I haven't used it to translate anything so far, so let's go ahead and switch this to Portuguese real quick. Let's take a look. Here we go, Portuguese, and let's go ahead and take a little bit of a photo with my phone, and there we go. So I want it to scan. Nope. And I want it to scan and take a photo. Okay, there we go. So what does the text exactly say? Select all text. Okay, this is being very confusing. Just says, this product causes dependence. Quitting smoking is possible. Okay, that's what it says. Para de fumar é possível. Just means quitting smoking is possible. And then we have what looks to be a QR code right there, which just leads you to a quit smoking website. From what I know, a quit smoking website probably run by the Brazilian government, although I haven't tried out that QR code myself, as I have no intention of quitting smoking cigarettes. Just says, scan and listen on our website to the warnings contained in this package, stop smoking, and then it basically goes on to say all that sort of stuff and everything like that kind of thing. And yeah, so that's just a quit smoking website and whatnot. We get a little number right here. I guess you can call that number. It's a quit smoking line, I suppose. We get some little emblems in blue and black and whatnot kind of thing. And overall, yep, just a pretty standard warning label. But I have never seen a QR code on a warning label before, so that is pretty new, I will acknowledge. And let's go ahead and cover the top part of the front of the packaging now. As said, the background is very much that of a red, but it is not a consistent red by any means. It's a little bit lighter on the edges right here and a little bit darker in the middle with some color change going on. We can see in the center right here, also on that background, also in that red, but just a little bit different and a little bit embossed, we get a very slight, I would have to say, coat of arms design, I think is really the right way of putting it. We do get a little bit of a simplified, I would say, lion design on either side right there, with a little bit of a crown right there, and we get a little since 1890 text right there. I guess that's how long Rothmans as a brand has been around. From my knowledge, at least, Rothmans was originally a tobacco company, and they also produced cigarettes of their own name. So whether Rothmans as a nameplate of a cigarette has actually been around since 1890, I do not know, but the company in some way, shape, or form has been around since that point, I do suppose. That's on a little bit of a shield design right there, and then overlaid over that, embossed as well, it just says Rothmans right here, and a much more cursive font than not, which looks pretty good in my personal opinion. That's all in white text with a black drop shadow. No, I would actually have to say that's sort of a dark brown, almost black border, actually. I thought it was a drop shadow in the camera screen right here, but no, it's actually a little bit of a border. Then under that, in the same exact text format, just not cursive this time, it just says Rothmans right there, and then under that, it just says of London, and then we get the variety name, Red, right there. And then under all of that, it just says hand-selected tobaccos. Personally, I doubt that. This is a pretty mass-market cigarette. I bought it at a gas station. It's made by British American Tobacco, one of the largest tobacco companies in the world. Ain't no way this is hand-selected tobaccos, but maybe it is. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows, I will acknowledge. But yeah, that's very much what the front of this packaging looks like. Simple, but recognizable, distinct on the shelf, and overall, it works. Nothing particularly crazy, but it works, it looks good, and I think that's really what matters for a pack like this. Without further ado, let's go ahead and quickly cover the back of the packaging. At least the back of the packaging is entirely a warning label. There is nothing that is not a warning label on the back of this pack. Let's go ahead and translate the text on the back with my phone real quick. Let's go ahead and literally just take a photo and translate the back of the pack. Select all text, and it just says threat. Oh, it just says threat. Okay, so this means like warning or threat, I guess. Just says, warns this product causes abortion and makes babies ill. Stop smoking, then it may be too late. Toxic product. So basically they're just saying like, warning, this product causes abortions and babies to get sick. And it just says stop smoking or else it may be too late. And then they're just saying toxic product right there. A little bit of yellow right here. Image of a not so healthy baby right here. Healthy on one side, not healthy on the other side. Toxic product with a little warning label right there as well. And that's all that's going on the back of this pack. Definitely a little bit different than what I'm used to as an American. As an American, I am used to no warning labels on the packaging, except for on the side of the pack, which we can see right here just a little bit. And we can see that on this side of the pack, we get some black, we get some red, we get some white down here. On this side, just says, do not sell to anybody under the age of 18. Just says that this tobacco product contains nicotine and diverse toxic substances that can cause cancer. I don't know how to read any Portuguese or anything like that, but some of the words, I'm getting the general gist of what's going on. And then after that, it just says that this is a toxic product down there, and that's all that's going on this side. On this side, we get not a warning label. Thankfully, not a warning label. We get a Brazilian tax stamp right there, and we also get the barcode right there. Just has some information about who made these cigarettes. Just says British American Tobacco, BAT. Has some information about them and whatnot. Just says Industria Brasileira, 20 cigaros right there, and above this text we just get the tax stamp right there. This tax stamp, in my opinion, looks pretty good. Just says IPI Brazil, and just says Receita Federal, probably like federal receipt is what that means, or a federal tax sort of receipt. I'm not exactly sure. Says CMB somewhere on it as well. We got a little bit of a dark sort of squiggly line up here, goes to green with a little bit of beige, sort of off-white right there. Overall, a pretty nice looking tax stamp, in my personal opinion. Definitely better than the tax stamps from, like, let's say, the UK or Ireland or something like that. They're pretty boring tax stamps, in my opinion, but not quite on the same level as, like, let's say the tax stamps from Indonesia. The tax stamps from Indonesia, frankly put, are gorgeous. They are beautiful. This is up there, but it's not quite there. It is a good tax stamp, though. I do have an appreciation for it, and that's all that's going on this side of the packaging. Moving on to the top, we can see we get a light red on either side, dark in the middle, Rothmans of London right there, and then it just says red in the corner. And then on the bottom we get pretty much the same thing, just without the Reds text, and this is a little bit smaller, so there's some additional information. Just says Rothmans of London, same background, and then it just says that these are made by Souza Cruz Ltd, which is a basically subsidiary of British American Tobacco, is what they're saying on the bottom of this. Just says these were made in Uberlandia. I looked up where that is, and Uberlandia is, oh man, where was it? It was in Brazil, more north of where I am. I'm near Florianopolis right now. Do I have maps still installed on this phone? I installed like so much stuff on this phone. Let me just see where Uberlandia is real quick. I was like, Uberlandia, that is a very interesting name. My phone is being very, very, very laggy. Oh my God. It wants me to update my maps. It literally just loaded just fine. And then it cut to update your maps. I am not updating my app. I am not updating my apps on this phone. Why? Bruh. It literally loaded the map just fine, and then was like, you need to update, like, as soon as it loaded Uberlandia. It's north of where I am, let me just put it that way. I'm not updating my maps mid-video, that will not happen. But that's where these cigarettes are made. They're made in Uberlandia in Brazil, and for like the first time ever, it actually says what ingredients these cigarettes have in them on the bottom of the packaging. What? I've never seen that before. I've seen expiration dates, I've seen best buy dates, I've seen dates of production. I've never seen a single pack of cigarettes actually list the actual ingredients on the packaging itself, except for American Spirits and except for one pack of cigarettes from Mexico that was like very much an artisanal cigarette. But even those didn't actually count the paper themselves. Like, American Spirits are like natural tobacco and water. Like, yeah, those are two of the ingredients, but then there's the filter and there's the paper and all the glue and everything like that kind of thing. It didn't count any of that. This counts it. Let me go ahead and translate the text on the bottom of the pack real quick. Here we go. And let me go ahead and get, select all, and let's go ahead and see what it says. Okay, here we go. So, it just says ingredients, mixture of tobaccos, sugars, adhesives, binding agents, combusting agents, cigarette paper, paints, and humectants. It actually listed everything, bro. That's actually so awesome. I love that. That is actually hilarious. Now, that might be like some sort of regulatory thing in Brazil. I don't know. I don't know if it's company's choice. I don't know if it's a government thing. I have no idea. But either way, that's really, really, really cool that they do actually list the full ingredients list on the bottom of the pack. That's awesome. I love it. No complaints on my behalf. That's awesome, I gotta admit. Like, it's not just the tobacco. And it would be nice if they listed the actual tobacco blend, but they don't. But they acknowledge there's sugars. These are not additive free. They've got the glue on there. They've got the paper on there. Bro, that's crazy. I've never seen that before. That's really, really, really cool. We can see there's some numbers right here as well. Just says V30ABR27. My guess as to what that number means is that that is a best buy or expiration date for this pack right here. I would also guess that there is a production code right there for probably the day this pack was made, because there's also on the bottom F08 May 26, so ABR would stand for April, May would be May. So I'm going to hazard a guess that these cigarettes were probably made on the 8th of May 2026, or about 2 months ago now, and it probably is best by the 30th of April 2027. It is my best guess as to what those mean, but I don't know exactly what those numbers mean, and do correct me if I am wrong. But yeah, that's really all there is to the packaging. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get the cellophane all off. Go over the quality of the packaging real quick after I put my cellophane in my backpack. Don't want to be littering, of course. Got some beautiful nature around here. Don't want to be messing it up. And let's go ahead and just quickly take a look at the quality of the packaging. I gotta admit, for a round corner box, which, oh man, it's not quite round corner. It's kind of like a soft corner box, I guess is really the right way of putting it. We can see it's not quite a 90-degree angle, but it's not quite a round corner box either. Well, either way, for being a soft corner box, this is surprisingly good quality. Not the greatest, but it's about average quality for what this pack is, in my personal opinion. Texture-wise, it's very much out of a smooth, sort of inky printed texture. Nothing too crazy going on. You can definitely feel the embossment just a little bit, which is quite nice. And overall, yep, pretty much the same texture all the way around. Does this pack look better with the cellophane off than on? I definitely have to say so. And is there any embossment on the top? There is indeed on the top of the packaging right there as well. Not on the bottom though, I do want to acknowledge. But without further ado, let's go ahead and now get this pack all opened up. Oh, I should probably get rid of the tax stamp real quick. Should probably do that first. And I'm going to go ahead and put that in my backpack as well, because I think that might prevent me from opening this pack up. And now let's go and open up this pack just like that. We can see on the inside just says Rothmans Marca International. I think that's like registered international copyright is maybe what they're trying to say. I'm not exactly sure. Just says Sob Licenza de Rothmans of Pall Mall Limited. What? Is Rothmans considered like a sub-brand of Pall Mall in Brazil? I have no idea. I have no clue. Maybe. I've got no idea. Why is Pall Mall being mentioned? That's really interesting. I have no idea what's going on with that. We can see the cigarette insert itself is just a classic white insert, but the front of it looks pretty interesting because it's only open right here, not all the way around like I am personally used to. The foil itself is not foil. It is instead a paper, and there's a little bit of a dot design on it, although I don't think we can see it very well, but there is a little bit of a sort of dot or hatch pattern to it, I would say. How easily does it pull out, though? Let's see. Not very easily, it seems. Oh, wow. There we go. Wow, that took a little bit of force. Wow, that was pretty satisfying, I gotta admit. No complaints on my behalf. And let's go ahead and get one of the cigarettes in this pack all out. So, I can see right off the bat. Let me go. There we go. That should help a little bit. Ooh, that smells really nice right off the bat. I'm going to go ahead and just start off by smelling these, actually. Oh, yeah. No, that smells really nice. This also seems a little bit thinner than I'm used to. It seems, this is not a slim, but it seems a little bit thinner than I'm used to. I do have a little bit of a leftover American Spirit in my ashtray, so I might see how the size of this compares against that. If it really is thinner than I think it is, but I think it is. But smell-wise, smells really nice. I'm getting a sweet sort of coca, I would have to say a little bit of chocolate smell in there. Smells really, really, really good overall. No complaints, no complaints. Yeah, I would have to say nice, sweet, a little bit of tobacco, a little bit of coca, a little bit of chocolate. That's very much the smell I'm getting from this cigarette right here. Smells really good, I gotta admit. Very much smells kind of like an American blend cigarette, but different, I gotta acknowledge. But nothing insane smell-wise, nothing insanely different than what I'm used to, but this is a British American Tobacco made cigarette, and it's a Rothmans. It's not a Brazilian brand of origin by any means. I do want to, of course, acknowledge if I could have found a pack of, like, let's say Hollywood cigarettes, which was, up until it was discontinued in like 2020, I think it is, if I could have found a pack of Hollywood cigarettes, I would have totally tried those instead. I tried to find a pack of Derbies. I wasn't able to find a pack before this video, so I ended up going with the Rothmans, but I think they're going to do the trick for what I need. I am still going to be looking for a pack of Derbies, though, because that is a Brazilian brand of origin. I want to give those a go, see how those are. But I do believe those, these days, are also still made by British American Tobacco Brazil. But yeah, this cigarette smells really good. It seems like it's a little bit smaller than kind of what I'm used to. The filter itself as well is very small, I will acknowledge. And we can see the filter itself is very cork-style colored, I think is really the right way of putting it. It's very cork-style colored. However, it's not an entirely cork-style design. We've got some light kind of coming through the windows next to where I am sitting right now. Thankfully not onto my face, distracting me, but it's kind of coming into the camera scene right here, so let's use my hand just a little bit. But we can see, yeah, it's very cork style color, but there are some diagonal lines on the filter, as we can see, that are just a little bit darker. Right here in red, it just says Rothmans right there. Under that, it just says of London. And then on the other side, we get the, I believe that is, yep, the Rothmans sort of coat of arms design that we saw on the front of the packaging. That's just right there. Just like that, as we can see. And underneath the cork style filter design itself, we get a little bit of a silver right there. Then underneath, a little bit of a red, which just says since 1890. And then we get a little bit more of that cork style sort of color once again. And then we go to a white paper with horizontal lines going all the way across, just like that. And that is, and I just hit the table with my leg as I was kind of stretching out, but that is very much what the look of this cigarette is like. Smells good, quality is good, looks pretty decent in my opinion. The blend seems to be that of a medium blend. I'm seeing some light, some dark, but overall more of a medium blend than not from what I can tell. Maybe a medium light blend. Let's get another cigarette out and just see what it looks like in comparison. It might just be this singular cigarette that looks like this. Let's see if I can get another one out though. Just like that. Oh, okay. Yeah, this one is, I would have to say, a little bit more medium. So yeah, I would have to say a medium blend is probably just the right way of describing the color of the blend of these cigarettes. Well, I do think without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and grab my ashtray off the ground real quick, and I am going to go ahead and take my American Spirit, which is half smoked. I had just a little bit of it before the video today, and yeah, is that about the same? I don't know. I don't know. It looks, I don't know. It's hard to tell. I thought it was a little bit thinner, but maybe it's not. Maybe it is about the same. And maybe it's slightly thinner, but it's so slight. It's so slight. I'm not sure. I think it might just be that this cigarette, it's just one I haven't seen before. Maybe it's the colors on it making it look thinner. I'm not exactly sure, but I don't know. I don't know. It kind of feels like it's just the slightest bit thinner than my American Spirit. I don't know. It's so hard to tell with the naked eye, though. But I'm going to go ahead and leave my American Spirit out of the ashtray now because it's no longer burning. And I'm going to set up my ashtray on the table I'm sitting at right now. And I'm going to go ahead and get my lighter out of my pocket, as it is now time for me to go ahead and smoke my first ever Brazilian cigarette. My first ever cigarette from Brazil. I've been smoking cigarettes in Brazil for the last couple days I've been here, but I haven't actually smoked a Brazilian cigarette yet. I've been going through the entirety of my pack of American Spirit Greys that I brought with me, and the one I just showed y'all was actually the last one. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get this cigarette all lit up. Let's go ahead and get to smoking, and let's go ahead and find out just how a Brazilian cigarette actually is for the very first time. Yes, sir, you know what I'm saying? Right off the bat, flavor. All right. Okay. Flavor right off the bat is about as expected. It kind of tastes as I would expect from the smell, I will acknowledge. The body is, this is trying to go right to the window. Make sure the sliding door is all the way closed. Don't want to smell up the Airbnb I'm staying in. But the body itself seems to be decently dense, not crazy dense or anything like that by any means, but decently dense nonetheless, I will acknowledge. Overall, good density on the body and a good size as well. Draw-wise, I would have to say it's a pretty good draw in my personal opinion. Not bad by any means, just about right, not constricted, not too light by any means. Honestly, the draw is just about perfect for what I want from a cigarette, and it has a nice, like it's a little bit light when compared to, like, let's say the American Spirits that I've been smoking, but it's got a slightly heavier draw than, let's say, your standard Camel or Marlboro in the United States, in my personal opinion, and so it's kind of more to my preference due to that slightly heavier draw than what I'm used to, which I do like, I will acknowledge. And yeah, so the draw is very much that of a, I would have to say, just pretty good, normal draw, maybe slightly on the heavier side. Body is good overall. Roughness and smoothness, I would have to say, is very much that of a 6 to 7 out of 10. It's like a 5, 6, 7 out of 10, I would say. And I did just say 6, 7. I do really mean that. That is very much what the rating is, but 6, 7. I was at a mall yesterday here in Brazil. We were just doing some grocery shopping, checking out some shops and stuff like that. Me and my family were, because I'm on a little bit of a family vacation right now. And I walked over to like a sign or something like that, and I was just taking a look at it. It was like the map for the mall or something like that. And some kid walked up with his sibling. And looked at the map and was just like saying 6, 7, 6, 7 all over again. And I was like, oh my God, 6, 7 really is universal. There's kids saying it everywhere. I was so tempted to go 6, 7 back to the kid, but I was like, I think his parents are probably gonna kill me. So I was like, maybe I don't do that, because they're probably so tired of hearing 6, 7. And honestly, if I was a parent and my kid wouldn't stop saying 6, 7, I probably would be tired of hearing it too, but because I'm not, it's pretty funny to say, I will acknowledge, 6, 7. It's such a dead meme by now, but I don't care. I'm gonna keep saying it. But, overall, yeah, roughness, smoothness-wise, this is very smooth, but has a nice throat hit as well. So I think a solid 6 out of 10 is probably deserving for the roughness and smoothness of this cigarette, if I had to hazard a guess. And overall, I would say strength-wise, it's definitely not as strong as my American Spirits, for sure not. My American Spirit Greys, they're not quite as strong as the American Spirit Blacks, but they're definitely up there for sure, like an 8 out of 10. This is probably more like a 6 out of 10, maybe a 7 out of 10. I'll have to have another one once I finish this one off and really determine it for sure. And yeah, really smoking this does feel a little bit thinner than I'm used to. I'm not exactly sure though, but it really does feel just a little bit thinner than I'm used to. But, taste-wise, what's the taste of this like? I'd have to say the flavor is really, honestly, exactly what I was expecting when I smelled this cigarette, I will acknowledge. I wasn't exactly sure how these were going to smell before this video, but this cigarette really does smell exactly how it tastes, or tastes exactly how it smells, to say that correctly. And it's good. It's a good quality cigarette. I'm not noticing any sort of a paper taste. I'm not noticing any sort of a quality issue or anything like that kind of thing. There's no sort of icky taste in there. It really is just tobacco, flavoring, and a little bit of paper kind of thing. And when I say a little bit of paper, I'm not even noticing a papery taste per se. I'm just assuming it's just in the taste right there kind of thing. But I'm not noticing a distinct papery taste. Just right off the bat, I will acknowledge. But yeah, flavor-wise, I'm getting very much out of a, I would have to say, sweet coca, sort of both dark and milk chocolate flavor. And that's very much the flavor I'm getting from this. I will determine what the flavor is like a little bit more with the next cigarette, but this one is just about done. And so I'm going to go and stuff it out. Oh, the filter itself gets a little bit mushy towards the end for sure, and the filter itself starts right around the red line, I would say, on the cigarette. And let's go and take a sip of water real quick and get right back into it, because I want another cigarette. That cigarette, though, it was pretty good. It was stronger than not. Honestly, that was actually surprisingly strong. I think that's more like a 7 out of 10 strength-wise. Like, that is a solid, full-flavored cigarette. Like, not quite an... it's kind of up there. It's like a 7.3, 7.4 out of 10, I would have to say, strength-wise. It's up there. It's a solid, I would have to say, higher strength, standard, full-flavored cigarette is very much what it is, strength-wise. Let's get another one out, and let's smoke another one, though, because I want another cigarette, of course. Of course I want another cigarette, so I'm going to have another one. Let's see if I can get the packaging closed. There's one thing to mention. The packaging quality is pretty disappointing when it comes to closing the pack. It can be a little bit of a hassle. But yeah, flavor-wise, it's really very much that of a... I would have to say, the more I smoke, the more I do get a little bit of a papery taste, I will acknowledge. And that is one thing I do notice sometimes. When I smoke one cigarette, I'll have a really good experience with the first one. But the second one, I notice a little bit more other flavor sort of going on. And that's kind of what's going on just a little bit today, I will acknowledge. And when I say other flavor, I mean a sort of papery flavor, I do suppose. But it's not particularly pronounced, and it was really just there at the very beginning. On that last hit, I really got less of it, and I think I'll continue to get less of it as I continue smoking. At the very beginning of the cigarette, I would have to say the flavor is a little bit more mild. At the beginning, it's definitely a little bit lighter, a little bit more mild, a little bit less sort of intense tobacco flavor. But as you get through it, I would have to say the flavor becomes a little bit more intense, a little bit more pronounced. One thing I forgot to check on is if there's a line of perforation on the cigarette, and so there is one line of perforation on the cigarette. I will acknowledge that I forgot to mention whether there was any perforation on the cigarette or not. When I was going over the details of the cigarette, but I have noticed that there is one line of perforation on the cigarette, so that is very much worth mentioning. But yeah, overall, I would have to say this cigarette is probably a predominantly burley blend with... yeah, I don't know what else is in there. It's really just very burley tasting to me. It really does taste a lot like burley tobacco. I don't know what type of tobacco for cigarettes is the most common to grow in Brazil. I am not up to speed with that information, but the flavor of this cigarette does come across as if it's a more burley blend than not, without a doubt, I will acknowledge. And I do think that is helped by the flavoring of the cigarette. The flavoring, you can definitely tell there's a little bit of a sort of chocolate milky flavor in there, in my personal opinion, that has been added in after the fact after the tobacco was taken out of the field. And so, yeah, I would definitely have to say there's definitely a little bit of flavoring in there, and that flavoring is definitely helping the burly impression I have of this cigarette. But I would have to say, yeah. Tastes very much like burley tobacco, and the taste I'm getting as a whole, overall, got at the very beginning just a slightest bit of a little bit of a papery taste. Still getting a little bit of that, but it's not an off-putting papery taste. It's just there kind of thing, I will acknowledge. And I would have to say the flavor itself overall is very much that of a sweet, slightly milky, creamy, sort of milk chocolate flavor with a little bit of a dark chocolate tinge in there as well, I would have to say. So yeah, very much that of a cigarette that I think would pair well with hot cocoa, or with milk chocolate, of course, or maybe with coffee, or something along those lines kind of thing. I think this is definitely a coffee cigarette for sure, no question in my mind. Now, of course, this is my first cigarette I've ever tried from Brazil, so I don't know if all Brazilian cigarettes have this sort of blend. I don't know if this could be considered a Brazilian blend cigarette or not. I have no idea, I will acknowledge, but I am very excited to try many more cigarettes from Brazil in the future. I've already bought quite a few packs, some of which I will be smoking here in Brazil, some of which I'll be taking home with me, and I'm looking forward to trying all of them and seeing just how they are. But yeah, overall flavor-wise, very much that of a savory, sweet, milky, sort of milk chocolate sort of flavor, with, I would have to say, a little bit of a dark chocolate tinge in there as well. And that's very much what the flavor of this cigarette is like. Overall, tastes pretty good in my personal opinion, and overall, this is a pretty dang good quality cigarette. Not bad by any means. Not as good a quality as, let's say, American Spirits per se, but definitely better quality than, I would have to say, Marlboros in the United States. And I would have to say, about on par for R.J. Reynolds made cigarettes in the United States, Camels and the like. Not Pall Malls, though. Not Pall Malls. But yeah, no, not bad. Not bad. Overall, gotta admit, I am pretty impressed by the quality of this cigarette, and it is pretty good tasting. Overall, final thoughts on it. Do I like the Rothmans Reds cigarettes from Brazil? Have I enjoyed my first ever Brazilian cigarette experience today? I would have to say I do enjoy these. I would buy another pack of these again in the future if I was to visit Brazil again, although I don't think I'll be buying another pack on this trip. I'd much rather try something different, try some new cigarettes while I'm here. But overall, yeah, good quality, good cigarette. Don't mind it by any means, quite enjoying the Rothmans Reds, and well, this pack has done a good job of making me all the more excited to try some more Brazilian cigarettes coming up over the next little while or so. I've got another 9 or 10 days here in Brazil, and I'm looking forward to trying a couple more cigarettes while I am here, I will acknowledge. Well, I'm going to go and finish this off now, go and give the pack a rating, and I think that's going to be the video right there. Overall, has my first ever experience with a Brazilian cigarette been good? It has been very good, and I just realized I completely forgot to grab a thumbnail for this video. And maybe I'll light up another one. Probably stub it back out because I'm feeling pretty good on nicotine right now, but I do want to grab a thumbnail for this video. But overall, yeah, I've had a great experience with Brazilian cigarettes for the very first time today. Frankly put, no complaints on my behalf, I will acknowledge, and no complaints on my behalf. Overall, I would give the pack of Rothmans Reds a very solid, I think, 8 out of 10. I think an 8 out of 10 is deserving for them. For the quality, I'm trying to be harsher with my cigarette ratings. Honestly, I will acknowledge. I am trying to be harsher with my cigarette ratings. I've found myself being extra nice to cigarettes sometimes. Sometimes cigarettes that don't deserve it. This cigarette deserves a positive rating, but I think an actual 7 out of 10 is more deserving for the Rothmans Red cigarettes. really when you get to an 8 out of 10 or above. It's got to be something that's like extremely good. And don't get me wrong, this is good, but it's nothing crazy kind of thing. It's nothing insane. I think a 7 out of 10 for the Rothmans Reds cigarettes from Brazil is a very deserving rating for these. They've been pretty solid. I've enjoyed them, and, you know, they have indeed made me excited to try more Brazilian cigarettes in the future. Let's go and grab a little bit of a thumbnail real quick. I am not going to have the entirety of this next cigarette. I'm just going to grab a thumbnail and then stub it out, and I'll have the rest of it later. I'm feeling pretty good on nicotine right now, but I do want to grab a thumbnail. Well, though, hopefully one of those will work. I'm going to go ahead and stub that out just a little bit without breaking it. Hopefully I stubbed it out without breaking it. We'll find out. We'll find out. I'm going to go and put the lid on my ashtray, though. Where is the lid? Where did I put the lid for my ashtray? It is right here. Let's go and put the lid on it. And I think that is all I had to say for this video today. Overall, I've really enjoyed myself. I've really enjoyed smoking a Brazilian cigarette for the very first time. And I'm very excited to try some more in the future. Some more over this trip, I will acknowledge. Appreciate y'all watching today's video. Hope you guys have enjoyed this video where I smoked a Brazilian cigarette for the very first time. If you guys have enjoyed, of course, make sure to like and subscribe, and make sure to also check out my new poetry book, Poems to Read While Smoking Cigarettes, available now on Amazon for $14.99. I do highly recommend it, of course. Appreciate all y'all stopping by. Hope all y'all have enjoyed watching this video today, and until the next one, stay safe and peace, and have a great one.